Oil rigs have a millionaire club, and membership means you screwed up so badly it costs 7 figures. That is not a joke. It is real. By the end of this, you will understand why celebrating million-dollar mistakes might be the smartest thing an oil rig ever did, and what the invisible rules are that keep over 100 people alive in one of the most unforgiving workplaces on Earth. Picture an offshore platform in the Gulf of Mexico. It stands 300 feet above the waterline. It houses 150 workers, and it costs $650,000 per day to operate. These are not just machines. They are floating towns with their own laws, their own language, and their own consequences. And the rules that matter most are never written down. Offshore drilling started in the 1940s in the shallow waters of the Gulf. Today, the United States offshore sector alone produces roughly 1.8 million barrels of oil per day. The geology demands it. Oil sits miles beneath the seabed, reachable only by platforms that blend extreme engineering with extreme human endurance. But the real engineering is not the steel or the hydraulics. It is the unwritten code that turns strangers into a unit that can survive together. So how do you get there? Most workers start as roustabouts, general labor, the bottom rung. You move up to roughneck, then derrick hand, driller, tool pusher, and eventually offshore installation manager. Entry requires safety training, like basic offshore safety induction and emergency training, a strong back, and the ability to handle a 14 days on and 14 days off rotation. Some rigs go 28 days and 28 days. During your on time, you work 12-hour shifts, 7 days a week. No weekends, no escape. On day one, they call you a worm. That is the term for rookies. You get the dirtiest jobs, the earliest wake-up calls, and the pranks. The pranks are not random cruelty, they are a test. Can you take a joke? Can you stay humble? Can you keep working? If the answer is yes, you are in. And if you say the wrong word at the wrong time, the entire crew will turn their back on you. Let us talk hardware for a second. The drill floor is where it happens. Above it, the derrick, a steel tower that can be 15 stories tall. Below the rig, underwater, sits the blowout preventer, a multi-story stack of hydraulic rams that can seal a well in seconds if pressure spikes. Floating rigs use dynamic positioning, thrusters and GPS to hold position within a few feet, even in rough seas. Then there is the drilling fluid system, weighted mud pumped down the wellbore to control underground pressure and prevent blowouts. These systems are governed by standards, like the American Petroleum Institute Standard 53, 5th edition, from 2023, which spells out how blowout preventers must be tested and maintained. Regulators like the United States Bureau of Safety and Environmental Enforcement and the United Kingdom Health and Safety Executive enforce all inspections and maintenance logs. But hardware alone does not prevent disasters. The real fail-safe is crew discipline, and that is where the unwritten rules take over. Here is the list. No one prints. Never say quiet, slow, or easy. On rigs across the United States and beyond, these words are jinxes. If you say looks like an easy shift, you'll be buried in extra work within the hour. Workers swear it tempts fate. Whether you believe in fate or not, you learn fast not to test it. Spit on the bit. Many drillers in the United States will not put a drill bit into the wellbore without spitting on it first. It is a ritual. It sounds absurd, and it is non-negotiable. Banned foods. Some rigs forbid cherry pie. Others won't allow chicken bones on board. No one writes this down. You find out when you break the rule. Never talk about past disasters. Mentioning a previous blowout, fire, or fatality while you are on the rig? That is catastrophic bad luck. The crew goes silent if you break this one. One Texas rig crew believed their equipment kept failing because the state flag was flying upside down, so they stopped drilling to fix it. They did. They stopped operations. They lowered the flag, flipped it, and raised it again. According to the crew, the rig started running smoothly. You can laugh, but they were not laughing, and the rig ran fine after that. The hierarchy is sacred. A driller who has been on rigs for 20 years has absolute authority on the drill floor, even if the offshore installation manager technically outranks them in meetings. Challenge that authority the wrong way, and you will not be fired. You'll just be frozen out. invisible, and on a rig, isolation is a kind of death. Room etiquette. Workers share cabins. 2, sometimes 4 people live in a space the size of a closet. Keep your area clean. Do not slam doors. Never return mid-shift to grab something and wake your roommate who has been asleep for 2 hours. Violate these rules and you become that guy. On a platform, you cannot leave for 14 days. Being that guy is unbearable. Now, the Millionaire Club. One Gulf of Mexico platform in the mid-1990s created a club for workers whose mistakes cost the company $1 million or more. They did not punish these people. They honored them. They gave them a pin. They made them members. It was not about celebrating failure. It was about admitting that it happens. Once workers saw that honesty would not destroy them, they started reporting small problems before those problems became catastrophic. The platform's accident rate dropped 84%. Production hit an all-time high. Fear makes people hide mistakes. Acceptance makes them speak up. Women make up a small fraction of offshore crews. Some workers still assume a woman is less competent. That assumption tends to vanish when she outworks half the crew. One worker's advice is simple. Use the underestimation, be excellent, and learn the language. Humor helps. Fit in or be left out. And on some international rigs, especially Australian-operated platforms, crews engage in relentless mockery of each other. They call it tall poppy humor, cutting everyone down to size. If you cannot laugh at yourself, you will not survive. A deepwater rig costs $650,000 a day to run. 1 day of downtime equals the annual public works budget of a small town. That is $600,000 to $700,000 in lost productivity, plus the fixed costs that never stop. The financial pressure is crushing, but worker pay reflects the stakes. Entry-level roustabouts make $40,000 to $60,000 a year. Roughnecks earn $60,000 to $85,000. Drillers pull in $75,000 to $110,000. Rig managers clear over $250,000. Offshore work pays 15 to 30% more than onshore. The real cost is mental health. Studies show offshore workers have high rates of insomnia, depression, shift work disorder, and substance misuse. You work 12-hour shifts for 2 or 4 weeks straight with no privacy, no escape, and a culture that discourages admitting you are struggling. Some workers say coming home is harder than the rig, trying to reintegrate into normal life after weeks of isolation and adrenaline. Let's flip some myths. Myth 1. Oil rig workers are uneducated. Reality, many hold technical certifications, engineering degrees, or specialized training in subsea systems or pressure control. The tool pusher on a deepwater rig often knows more than a mid-level engineer working onshore. Myth 2. Superstitions are silly. Reality, they are behavioral guardrails. Saying the word quiet breaks focus. Spitting on the bit forces a pause before a critical step. Banning certain foods builds shared identity. These rituals slow you down, create mental checkpoints, and reinforce group cohesion. All of that reduces accidents. Myth 3. Rigs are dangerous because workers are reckless. Reality, most incidents come from system failures, maintenance lapses, or communication breakdowns. The Deepwater Horizon disaster in April 2010 killed 11 people. It was not crew error. It was a cascade of technical and managerial failures. Workers are the last line of defense, not the weak link. So why does the Millionaire Club work when every instinct says punishing mistakes would be safer? If this story is gripping you, hit subscribe and drop a comment. What part of rig life should we unpack next? Because offshore survival depends on truth, not perfection. A driller who hides a pressure reading because they are scared of looking incompetent can kill everyone. A driller who says, "I don't know what that gauge means," saves lives. The unwritten rules like don't jinx the shift, respect the hierarchy, and own your mistakes are all versions of the same principle. Stay humble, stay honest, stay alive. The rig doesn't care about your ego. The ocean doesn't care about your pride. The workers who last 20 years are the ones who learned that on day 1. Right now, somewhere in the Gulf of Mexico, a worm is getting handed a mop, a nickname, and a test. If they pass, they will spend the next 2 decades learning rules no one will ever write down. Those rules will matter more than any safety manual ever could. Subscribe for more deep dives. Thanks.